responsible adult. Never mind.
Like the responsible adult. Watch me. I'll have to take a break in a minute.
I'm sure you will. Howdy, everybody.
So,
Good morning, Lavina. Hey, Lynn.
All right. Let's see. Maybe she'll pop in here. But yeah, you're right. There is a lot to unpack in this one.
Like a lot.
And there's a big question I have that I've been thinking about before I realized that this was coming up in reading.
Oh.
Like a lot.
And there's a big question I have that I've been thinking about before I realized that this was coming up in reading. And who's got the
Like a lot. There's a big question I have that I've been thinking.
That's not me. This is a big question. Okay, we all know that you have a big question.
Who has a big question?
Good morning.
I know, look at all these wonderful people.
Hey, Jasmine. Hey, Firebya. Kisses. And to everybody else after that, I can't type very fast, so I won't be typing very much.
Prove it.
I'll just talk it, but that would be horrible. We have important things to talk about.
Okay, I've said multiple oopses already. All right, let's pray in if we would. Good morning, Abba, Father. Thank you very much for this opportunity to fellowship and be together in your name. And we appreciate that. And we ask for your spirit of knowledge and understanding and truth. And let us all share what we learn and have observed and any questions that we have. And we thank you for that. And give those that are looking for healing peace, and them that don't have the peace, let them come to know you. Them that are angry and maybe not believing in you. We know that it's you that opens eyes and ears and touches people's hearts, and use us as your vessels in that. We thank you in Jesus Yeshua's name. Amen.
Amen.
All righty. Well, nobody has anything. Okay. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week. Okay. Genesis chapter 28. Let's go all the way back. Jacob's dream. Okay. Is anybody familiar? Has anybody heard of the stone of scone?
yes, sir.
Anybody else?
It's the stone of what?
Scone. You know, like those little biscuits you eat for breakfast?
No.
The stone of scone. Anyways, that is a one that's used by British Israeli, right? By British Israelism, saying that Western Europeans are lost tribes of Israel, and they have this stone. You can look up pictures of it, and they put it under the throne of coronation, and they crown all the monarchs of Great Britain, the United Kingdom, over this throne. And they claim that it is the stone that Jacob laid his head on, that he set up as a pillar after he had those dreams there in chapter 28. So, but in my opinion, howdy Colby. In my opinion, there's no difference between British Israelism and Black Israel and Hispanic Israel, and we are the real descendants. Okay. Anyways,
I bet it'd be extra powerful if they brought that piece of the manger with it.
Right.
This I thought about a couple times, like over the years, reading this one. It's verse 15. It might be just the way it's worded. It might not be a thing at all. But for I am not going to leave you until, the word until. I have done what I have spoken to you. I always wondered what that meant. Like he never leaves us nor forsakes us, and he's always with us, and he always talks about I'll never leave you. But in here, it has the word until. So is it just maybe like I'm not going to leave you feeling like you're in danger or feeling abandoned? Is it more leaning towards that concept, you think? Or is it not a thing?
I believe it's until his working is perfected.
Until his work is done. But then why would he, even when it's finished, why would he leave?
That's a good question. But
That's what, maybe that's what I'm saying.
the
Maybe
same as with our children too. Once we're done raising them, once we've given them absolutely everything we can, not that will ever be done getting what we're getting from our Father, our Heavenly Father.
Yeah. Maybe that's what it is. Yeah.
Right? Maybe it's another way of saying, I will never leave you.
Maybe it is. Maybe.
The word, I believe, is add. It's Strong's Hebrew 5704. It means as far as, even to, up to, until, or while. I don't know.
So they could have used another word, like a different conjunction word in there or something.
Possibly.
Well, for what he just read, if we insert while in there, behold, I am with you and I will keep you wherever you go and will bring you back to this land, for I will not leave you while I have done what I have promised.
Yeah. See, like maybe it's just the word. Yeah. Because until makes it makes you think it in a different vein, right?
Or it could be that until means that when he's done, your life is done.
Oh, maybe.
You know, to the end of his life, which would mean that at that point, you know, you're leaving and going to be with the Father, and then that is he's done then.
Yeah, it could be that too. Yeah.
It's the same word is used in the meaning as far, like he pursued as far as Dan, or he pursued as far as another. It's the word is also that's the same word throughout Genesis over and over and over.
Definitely, maybe. Yeah, Colby was saying indefinitely. Yeah, that.
Right?
Yeah. I'm trying to read because there was so much. I don't want to miss anything because there were so many things.
Okay. I'll post a link for some people if they want to check that out. Talking about the Stone of Scone. This is from the History Channel, so it'll probably completely devoid of anything having to do with scripture or reality or. Oh wait. Anyways.
Pushing the narrative.
What do you mean I'm pushing a narrative, huh?
You.
Oh, I'm pushing a narrative. I am pushing a narrative. Let's get that straight.
The thing that struck me just overall was how deceptive Laban is.
Okay, on to chapter 29. Yeah. No, actually, I'd already switched it anyways. So yeah, he is.
Isn't that Rebecca's dad?
It's Leah and Rebecca's dad.
No.
No. It's Rebecca's brother. Sorry, I'm thinking Leah and
Rebecca's brother. Okay. Yeah.
Uncle Laban.
Yeah.
So clearly he hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Right.
Wasn't she wanting to really get out of there when Isaac showed up?
Yeah, she wanted to get the heck out of there.
Yeah, I don't blame her. But then she said, "Go back to my brother and find yourself a wife."
Well, I mean, they're trying to keep the bloodlines from being corrupted, right?
What?
So, I mean,
Where did that come from?
you got slim pickings.
Well, and apparently they were surrounded by Canaanites, which Esau kept marrying into.
Right.
So that probably, limited, like you said, Gwen, that probably sort of kind of limited their options.
Maybe, yeah. Well, I mean, at the beginning of the chapter when it says, verse 4, so Jacob, like basically when Jacob came to this well, Jacob said to them, "My brothers, where are you from?" So it's interesting, like he greets them as brothers, but he wants to clarify, what brothers are you? Like, what brother are you? Who's your mama? That kind of thing.
Yeah, but I think it's also like that 60s movement. What's up, brother?
Maybe like it's like a respectful greeting.
Right.
I got something a little different. As like it's obvious he's very deceptive, and it probably destroyed the abundance of the blessing that Laban was getting. But when it comes to him tricking him into marrying Leah, I think he was protecting his daughter's honor. I mean, if you think about it from the perspective of a father,
Right.
he said, we don't. It's not. It's outside of our custom to give away the younger. And for the father to be the head of the household, I think that he was in that moment. Is it right to deceive? Probably not, but maybe he. I don't know. He it was a burden that I think a dad would bear to.
Yeah,
protect.
I get it. No, I agree with that. If it
But
was
why couldn't he just gone to Jacob and said, "Hey, 2-for-1 deal here"?
true, he could have.
Just be up front and be honest and say, "Hey, my daughter Leah is older and we need her to marry first."
Well, but
I was
can
thinking,
it also be Yahuwah, our father, giving Jacob back some of his own for his deceitful practices, back with the conniving with his mom to snag the birthright, or not the birthright, the blessing.
Reaping what you've sown.
Pretty much, something like that.
I think too, like as a side note, it's funny, not funny. It's interesting. You know how sometimes we've all fallen short into this trap where, well, it happens usually when we're younger, but still when we're older, is that we get so excited by something that we see. We're so willing to, I'll do 7 years for her. Instead of like, why didn't he just offer 1 year or 2 year? Like he bound himself to his own offer.
It was his own doing.
Yeah. So like if he had so I guess it's we could see that he kissed her at the well. I mean, that makes me feel like he's a bit of a, I want to say a player maybe. Like that was really bold, kissing a strange woman. Regardless.
Well, but
like
it's not part of their custom though.
But also,
kissing
back then, I mean, they gave everybody a kiss as a greeting.
Yeah, but I mean, does that sound like but they're bringing it up. I mean, it could be like how, like I love kissing people when I meet them. So if you meet me, I give you a kiss on the cheek. But I don't think that that's what it is. They're not going to mention it in this manner where they greet each other with a kiss and he cried out, "Oh!" Like, I mean, maybe it was that, but I think that it needs like a little bit more attention that he kissed her and this is what they felt and this is how they responded. Their hormones were raging and I'll give you 7 years.
Yeah,
Just
but
sounds like
he was an old man compared to her. He was much older. He was like 13.
that's why he was so excited. I don't know.
He was like, when he like in his 60s, 70s, something like that.
What?
What?
No, really?
He was.
Then he would have
Not at this time.
70, 80. Really?
He wasn't a young man.
He wasn't young, but at the
I
same
don't
time,
think. I don't know.
things were different then, and still are in most parts of the world now. It's the custom for men to go out and earn some wealth before they can come back and take a bride, and then you're not going to take someone that's up there, their mid-20s. Oh no, she's been around the block a few times.
Okay, so like Alvina brought up a good point. Like maybe it was custom.
Maybe.
You guys are being so nice towards him, and I'm thinking other things. But yeah, maybe it was custom to make that kind of offer if you're going to live with someone, or a wife. Maybe that was a wife offering. Like if you want a wife from someone, you offer 7 years of labor. Maybe that is true.
Well, maybe because she was a young girl, like 12, 13 years old, that would have maybe been too young. So he was offering 7 years to let her grow up.
Is that how old it's such? Like, where do you get those numbers?
I did some research on it.
I'd like to yeah, see, like getting things in perspective is good, because I mean, yeah, that seems
Rebecca
like
was young. Rebecca was a teenager too.
Yeah, I typed that out because I didn't know if I was comfortable quoting Wikipedia, but it's just
I
a
think
quick.
I've got it. Yeah. No, I think that's what I found too, Landon.
Quick Google search. Wasn't sure if I wanted to say it because I don't have time to vet Wikipedia. And
I found it in some rabbinical writings, but I didn't want to put that out there because
That's probably the same source that Wikipedia used.
Yeah.
well, I mean, we would call that daddy issues now if that happens, and or rape. But I mean, you have someone that's fully capable of, like, if we were trying to not be so jaded, like Gwen appears to be, let's hypothetically say it's not just a hormonal issue, and that he kissed a 14-year-old girl at a well and then quickly off, like, whatever. Let's say it's on the right side of things. That protection, provision, and producing offspring, producing heirs, producing, like maybe it's just like a different mindset, I guess, right? I don't know.
No, go ahead. I think they did marry younger. I mean, I think the girls were much younger back then. I mean, our modern perception of what is marrying age for a girl has really changed in the last 100 years. But if you do some historical research back, Confederate age, in the Confederacy in the South, they married young. They married, 13, 14, 15 years old because of you had to be strong enough to handle all that, and you had to be strong enough for childbearing. And then if they did, have trouble in childbearing and died, then it gave the man an opportunity to marry again. So,
well, it's the same thing with Mary and Joseph. Both of them were young.
Mm-hmm.
Or like really young.
Yeah. So I think it's just a different perception of our era and our time and culture. Yeah.
Here we want to say like 21's still a child.
Right.
Because we've created that 21-year-old child. So
well, and I've brought it up in different circles. There's a guy that's a Christian psychologist that talks about the best, as far as in our modern era, said the best age to marry is between 19 and 21. So those marriages have an 80% chance of survival because you're building stuff together. and then you get past the, you deal with the hormone issues. If you expect somebody wait till they're 25, 30 years old to marry, they're probably not going to be able to maintain chastity at that point. So
true. Yeah, I was just reading what Jasmine said too. Like, yeah, I mean, you can marry young, but usually it's to another almost equally young person. That's quite the age gap. Even for Leah, like what Lori was saying, around 21, even for Leah. But anyways.
Now,
yeah.
what is this? Because, let's see, what's it say there? Let me find it. 1029.
What you looking for?
I am looking for the exact wording of this. Basically, I forget what the translation on this one was in the ESV. Basically, let's see, verse 17, it says, Leah's eyes were weak.
Oh, I hate that word.
But Rachel was beautiful in form and appearance. In the King
Thank
James.
you for mentioning that. Because I've heard so many different angles of what that word means.
Leah was tender-eyed.
Right. That says or soft.
Is that a way of saying to look on her hurt your eyes? Or
I heard one time that it was because her eyes were funny, like she had cross-eyed or something.
like she was all Google-eyed, like Marty Feldman?
Yeah. I just think that, I mean, you have a 14-year-old and you have a 21-year-old, but you have different versions of external judgment of what beauty is, right? Maybe I think it's more that she was just a little bit more simple looking. There wasn't anything extravagant about her cheekbones. There wasn't anything extravagant about the width of her lips, that kind of thing. I think it's just physically how a person is describing two different looking females. I don't think she was ugly or homely or awkward looking. She just may not have stuck out like Rachel did. That's all. That's my opinion anyway.
I don't know.
Oh, Lori. Tender, yeah, Penelope. Yes. You know what? I'm almost having deja vu, Penelope. Did you read with us last year? Because I think I said something and we were talking about it and you said the very same thing. Clearly, I've forgotten. Tender-eyed, yeah.
I just think of sort of a plain woman when I read that she had her eyes. It was just, she wasn't, exotic. Probably, these are Middle Eastern women, and she probably was just sort of plain.
Maybe timid.
Oh dear.
I'm looking at all the.
Okay, let's get distracted with verse 31. And Yahuwah saw that Leah was unloved, and he opened her womb. They both had closed wombs.
That's right. At first, they both had closed wombs.
And I thought, interesting. And she was 21. She was older. So how long was she married and doing married things before Abba opened her womb? I guess this is it, and I think it's an honoring, fearful phrase, saying, and Yahuwah opened her womb. Like, that phrase is quite intense and beautiful if we can look at it from that perspective. But as an encouragement, sometimes we hear stories of women being barren, but then, all of a sudden they have children.
You know what? We need to go back, though, because if Rachel was 14, like Wikipedia says, when they got married, That means she would have been 7 when they met. So I disagree with that.
Oh, I thought she was 14 and then 7 years.
That's what I took. Was he met her when she was like 14?
Yeah, and then worked 7 years.
Yeah.
All right.
And then now we've got two different things. Some people say that Leah and Rachel were twins.
Right. Maybe.
And Rachel was born, or Leah was born first, like Esau and Jacob. Esau was born first, so Leah was born first. So I don't know if that's correct or if there was an age span between them of several years.
Fair enough.
I think it says in one of the extra biblical books, Jasher Jubilees, but I couldn't tell you where. Okay, what about chapter 30?
I don't know why I forgot this because I know I've read it before, but I was having trouble keeping a straight face because man, they just all the fighting. That's a lot of drama. That's a lot of drama. I was like, no, and I was trying to read the book. I mean, they just keep.
That's a lot of seeds on.
They're competing against one another. It's not, like they're rejoicing when they have another child, but they're. It appears that they're like doing it to spite the other.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's part of what happens when you marry more than one wife.
Drama will ensue.
Sibling rivalry within the marriage itself. And it struck me how Abba blessed Leah. It was like she was the unloved one, and so he gave her the more blessing.
You know what I was thinking about, like starting like verse 17. This is Leah. You know how when we share our story about what we think Abba has done to us, for us, through us, whatever. It's our testimony. We don't know how exact that testimony is. It's just our perspective of what Abba's done in us, through us, for us, to us, right? So verse 17, it says, and Elohim listened to Leah, and she conceived and bore Jacob a 5th son. And Leah said, Elohim has given me hire because I had given my female servant to my husband. So she called his name, what is it? Sorry, I have a weird Hebrew writing. Issachar? Issachar?
Oh, Issachar.
Okay, so I'm not saying it is or isn't, but could it be when it says Leah said, Elohim has given me hire because I have given my female servant. So God has blessed me because I gave my servant to my husband. He's endorsed my decision to give my servant to my husband. That may or may not be true, but do you know where I'm going with that? I'm not saying it isn't a fact that Abba didn't bless her, but just because she got pregnant with her servant doesn't necessarily mean it was Abba's. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Right. Yeah.
It's just this is Leah's dialogue. This is Leah's testimony. It doesn't mean for a fact Yahuwah said, I will bless Leah with her female servant. It doesn't say that. It says that Leah said, God has blessed me, which that's her perspective. That's her experience. But we don't know if that's how Abba blessed her just because her servant got pregnant. When has Abba ever endorsed or blessed through an offspring of a servant in scripture? Where has that ever happened? I could be wrong. So I'm just saying, she says that a couple times when she's naming her son or naming her offspring. So I just thought, hang on a second, this is her testimony. Doesn't mean that's what's actually happening. Doesn't mean that Abba's actually blessing her with a son through her servant.
Well,
I found this interesting because the birth order, right? Reuben was firstborn, Simeon was second, and then came Levi, and then came Judah. Well,
And that was it.
Reuben and Simeon dishonored their father. And so Levi got the priesthood, right? Through his line came the priesthood, and through Judah came the king line.
Yeah.
So those first two lost their birthrights, their position.
Yeah.
Well, Gwen, what you were saying though, Abba blessed, oh gosh, who was the handmaid of Sarah?
Hagar.
Hagar. You know, that
Yeah,
got
see, like, it's a different-
out of that.
Yeah, see, like, it's a different kind of, that wasn't his plan. He didn't endorse that decision. That's not how it was supposed to happen. I'm not saying any of these people are forsaken or Abba's turned his face away from these people. I'm just saying, yeah, like, he still blessed Ishmael, but in a completely different context. So it's like mercy, like, okay, I didn't say to do it, but you know,
Right.
I'll still, he makes provision, like making lemon out of lemonade, making lemonade out of lemons, sort of.
I think the way that it is now, I mean, since the fall of being kicked out of the garden, he has to work with what he's got, right? He loves it, does it. So it's like and we're told all throughout, you know, pray for this or pray for one another, and there's something where the Father and other heavenly hosts are more than willing to assist, but it's like he's set the rules where we have to, you know what I mean? We have to engage in that relationship with him. You know, such and such needs prayer, and then, you know, he sends the anointing or the blessing or the, you know, hedge of protection over that person. So all of the, like her giving him praise, you know, just trying to honor the Father because she felt blessed, may have also in blessing them, but it's one of those things where, like, his plan has been completely different since the garden. So I think now he's just like holding it together with heavenly scotch tape, so to speak. You know.
Interesting, Landon. heavenly scotch tape. I like that.
He's got his own duct tape.
Duct tape and baling wire.
If you're a true redneck, it's heavenly duct tape.
That's right. Landon, I know better. You live down here in the South. You should know. It's all duct tape.
I've got curtains put together with duct tape.
Do you have a duct tape curtain where you've actually created one out of duct tape?
It was paper, and the dog kept jumping at the window, and so every time he'd tear it, I'm like, man, I'm not. Just put it back together with duct tape. Well, I don't use that window, so it's all right.
Just take it down and just cover the whole thing with duct tape, like a big sheet. My landlord might not appreciate it.
Okay, now what about Jacob using these sticks of poplar and almond trees and plane trees?
Is that possible? I mean,
I think they were actually, there was some sort of, I think it was actually in the drinking water. And it's actually changing. I think it was what they were drinking. And
something from those trees in the water
would help change the pigment of their wool, or
that's
okay.
what I thought.
What actually, I was thinking something kind of along those same lines, is that somehow it activated maybe some sort of what we would call regressive DNA. Okay, we're in this area now, we need this type of camouflage. And so that's where they get the speckles and spots from, the stripes and the spots. And Because I mean, if you look at like the jaguars that are in the darkest jungle, they're black, right? But the ones that are out in more mountainous areas and stuff, they are spotted. I mean, the black ones, you can still see they have spots, but they get that Black Panther look. So I don't know, something like that.
Oh, good one, Jasmine.
I did want to say, I was thinking, I mean, I don't have any proof of this. I just a thought came to my mind. I wondered if Jacob knew what, like, if it was purpose driven or if it was something in his walk with the Father that God just told him, hey, put this thing in the well. Because of the way Laban continued to try and trick him, and they would make an agreement, but then it was God doesn't like the scales that are tilted. And so to correct that, it's possible that, Jacob didn't even know. He felt from the Father he had to put these things inside the well. And then it didn't make sense in hindsight that, God was blessing them. But like I said, that's not necessarily in here or not in here. I was wondering if that was the case.
I know. See, it's all a little bit subjective. Like,
Right.
is it sneaky? Is it sly? Is it deceptive? Because later on he says, Yahuwah has blessed me with all these.
Right.
So I mean, when we're reading it, I don't know. Like, I don't know.
Well, and Yahuwah blessed Abraham and Isaac when they went when they went to Abimelech and lied. They came out with wealth.
Right.
So
is that a blessing, or is that like mercy in the moment, and then later on you get your comeuppance by something else? Because what goes around does come around from time to time. So yeah, maybe he was rescued and he had 100-fold, like he planted and he got 100-fold and he got a blessing. But later on, there's other things. Like, I think everything kind of comes out, right? Maybe, I don't know.
Okay, so let's check out 31 through the end here. And this is when he flees from Laban. And I'm stuck on one thing in this. So what do you all have? Nothing. Okay. Yeah.
Well, go.
Okay. Rachel stole Laban's gods, his little house idols.
are you wanting a comment on that?
And well, I believe after this, later in chapter 31, or later in chapter 32 or 33, it's never resolved. Jacob never says, get those filthy idols out of here. At least not that we have in this.
Any other text that this story shows up?
Yes.
The what?
There is, yes, extra biblical text that story shows up. Yeah. And I don't remember, I don't remember which one it is, but it was either extra biblical text or I watched like a video or something on it. But basically these were divining gods.
Right.
And they were like the head.
Because that's what Laban says earlier. Yeah,
he divined, and so the reason Rachel took them was to protect them, so that he couldn't use them to divine where they were going. That's
optimistic. Maybe.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I'm asking, Lori. What happened to the idols after?
Yeah. They got destroyed or they hung around.
See, we don't know, but maybe that was another chink in Jacob's armor. Right? Is what I'm saying. That because
Because isn't it later on, like when she gives birth to Benjamin,
that she
dies?
Yeah.
And then people say, well, she got her comeuppance because she stole the idols. You know, like that's why, like, but we don't know, right? Like we're, casting assumption.
Right.
I guess that's kind of all we can do, because we don't know 100%.
Jonathan, that's what you're trying to get through, is that brought in that idolatry into Israel.
That was the very first one.
Right.
Right? Because we're even told later, don't take these people's women for wives, because then you will adopt their idols.
And so his brothers were already infected. Brothers meaning family, was already infected with other idols.
Right. I mean, that's the same family that he left to get away from the idolatry, and then they say, go get a bride from this idolatrous people we left.
Lesser of two evils? That sucks.
Wow. Yes, it does. But, okay, some of us are American. No. Take that back. I'm sorry, Alba. But then, they make that peace and come to that agreement, that covenant. You're not going to pursue me. I'm not going to pursue you. Leave me alone.
The thing I highlighted on that was Laban's threats. And where did Laban get that all that stuff was his?
Ooh.
That's my daughters. That's my, that's all mine that you took. I mean, that's basically what I'm hearing from that paragraph.
Right.
Like, oh, that's mine. Like, well, wait a second. Did he not work for you? Did you not give them to them? How are you getting that? And maybe the reason Laban pursued him is he assumed, or he had it in his head, that all that was his.
Yeah, that, and it was sort of the blessing being.
Penelope, I think that's the wrong verse, wrong chapter, wrong verse.
This was like having that abundance that he had, and then him continuously trying to trick him, and then all of a sudden Jacob ended up with a bigger blessing that was his, and so.
Or Abba, like the girl said, Abba moved Jacob.
Right, and so he's probably upset, about that, but feeling like it's all mine. Yeah.
Even though he's the one out there tricking Jacob to start with. So, I mean, this just deception and just this mindset of it's all mine. Mine.
Yeah.
Verse 32, and Jacob went on his way, and the messengers of Elohim met him. What's messengers? Does yours say? What does your guys say?
I don't know if that's related, Penelope. I think that is much later stuff.
Mine says the angels of God met him.
Oh man, who's got the dinger on?
It's my Mac doing its thing. Sorry.
I don't know, but when that rings, my mouth starts watering.
Sorry. Has Pavlov been to your house? I turned off my phone and then it rang on my computer. Sorry.
Okay, so anything else from 3132?
I'm looking through the specific words just to answer Gwen's question.
It's messenger. Yeah, it is the same thing. Like lots of times in scripture, messengers as angels and angels as messengers. But I just thought it was kind of a key, like, just, I don't know, those little nuggets that you see in there, that he's always with you and he's sending from time to time, not always maybe, he's sending he met messengers on the way.
Yeah.
And Jacob saw them, I just thought it was just kind of like he already seen them ascending and descending, right?
Yeah.
So he was familiar. Sorry, go ahead, Landon.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt you. My bad.
No.
But it's Malek Elohim, and Malek is the angels. And Elohim. But I think, it brings an interesting, like, just different experiences that I've had in life. I really think that it happens to us far more than we could ever realize. Sort of usually in situations where it would be easier to imagine it when traveling, because you meet people traveling that you probably will never see again. But think about through whatever you do in life, just going to a gas station or something like that. I think it's far more subtle than we ever really considered, that we could be meeting some of these. It could be going on in our own personal life, and
it says that somewhere in scripture, doesn't it? Like you're
entertaining angels unaware.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
And imagine, where it talks about standing before the Father, and giving an account for everything, and this part of your life coming up and this part of your life coming up, and it's like, oh wow, y'all were there the entire time. I just think that's going on for all of us, but we're taught by the world to think so physically, and it's probably not healthy to run around going, is that an angel? Is that him? Because it'll change how you react. But I just think that it's an aspect to life that we don't even question. So,
yep.
Well, I think that goes along with, maybe Landon. Sometimes they're there to protect us. Sometimes they're there to test us in a way, I guess. Like maybe you see some little old lady at the grocery store that's struggling to reach the top shelf, or something along those lines.
yes, ma'am. Yeah.
And so maybe that's an angel as well, that you're entertaining.
Yes, ma'am.
Helping. I don't know. Part of that's just, Abba wants us to help those who are in need. And that's just
right.
That part.
It would be that subtle. You know what I mean? Just that simple. It's going to be some like Hallmark experience with this angelic boom. I guess it could be if God wanted it to be, but what we're talking about, I think it's far more subtle, that we would never question it. So,
and that wouldn't be a Hallmark moment anymore if I saw one of those like that. I'd be like, probably like cowering on the floor somewhere in the corner. Bodily functions not working properly.
It kind of shows that each have a different office, right? Like not all messengers, angels or cherubim or whatever the levels are, not all of them have the same effect on people. Some they fall on their face, some they run to their tent and want to make them food, and some are just met along the way, like different purposes, definitely.
All right, let's go to Isaiah.
What?
Let's go to.
Oh, I thought you said Isaiah. Sorry, I thought you said Isaiah. Sorry. Like,
okay, well, just say Zaya and then take it, Gwen.
What is she talking about? Oh, it's in a different order in this book. It's all backwards.
So it's talking about Jacob fleeing and goes right into Ephraim, going into idolatry with Baal, and sinning even more and more.
sins.
And of course, this at that time is as a nation. But then after that condemnation, he talks about, you're going to return to me.
That's an awesome promise. Just shows his grace and mercy. You know, you've got a whole nation that just turns their back and turns into evil and idolatry, and he still loves them. And I don't have kids, but I think about parents that have kids that, you know, it probably just pains them for these kids that get off into stuff that they shouldn't. But they still love them. They're still their children.
Verse 1 of chapter 13. He was lifted up in Israel, but through Baal he became guilty and he died.
Yep.
It wasn't through Abba. Am I understanding that right?
Right. I think it's like that. The women that approach Moses, when they say that their father died in his own sin, not the sin of, was it Korah?
Okay.
So we die in our sin, not in our righteousness. So if he sinned with Baal.
Oh, I see. Okay, I understand. I thought it was interesting too, like, let the men who slaughter kiss the calves.
Yep.
Like, I thought, like, I had a couple of pictures in my head about those that like, you know, try to transfer their sin, like, I think, like, totally from a movie, but it was when Herod wanted to transfer his sin to the cow, and he was hanging onto the horns, and, you know, just the way he treated the animal was different than how it was supposed to be treated as an offering or as a slaughtering or whatever. Oh, I have to plug in my computer. Hang on a second. It's going to die. So I'm going to mute and I'm going to plug in my computer.
Well, the first thing that came to my mind when we were talking about kissing the calf was the sin of Israel dancing around the calf, the golden calf. That became their god, and they were just all excited about it and dancing around. And, you know, they probably were going up and touching it and kissing it. And
that's the thing. Same thing I pictured too, offering their child to Molech, and kissing the idol before they throw their children in and start the fire.
Oh, that just brought something to mind when you said that, Jonathan, about, I'm wondering if, wasn't the altar that Molech, isn't there hands that they place? There's this big statue, and then there's these hands outstretched, and they put them on the hands.
A couple of different renditions that I've seen, but the worst one that stuck with me is they have basically a big hollowed out bowl and put the children in there
And slowly burn them.
and then light a fire underneath it so that they cook to death, and them bouncing around and beating on the idol with smoke and steam coming out of the nostrils and mouth and stuff was the spectacle. And just a horrible thing all the way around.
When you said that, the thought that came to my mind was kissing the ring of, kissing the hand of Pope.
Right.
Or king, when you do that.
Yep.
Yes.
That's right, Rebecca. Yeah. And they don't call them rosary beads, but they use them in Islam too. They're prayer beads.
And in Buddhism.
And Buddhism, yeah.
Must be something to those beads.
You can trade them and get an island.
What?
I read that one.
Um,
Right? Supposedly they bought Manhattan for a pile of beads.
verse 6.
Okay.
When they were fed, they were satisfied. They were satisfied in their heart, was exalted. Therefore, they forgot me.
Right? And that's what all of us have experienced and done, right? Things are bad. Pray, pray, pray. Help, deliver me out of this.
Yeah.
Help, help. Oh, phew, that was good. Thanks, bye.
Yeah.
You know, we're so quick to ask to get out of the pickle, but then forget when we're out of it and things are going great and wonderful and good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. The ring of the poop. Let's see, I'm just going back. All right. Anyways. Wow, you guys got quiet. All right, let's go to John.
Why? The rest of chapter 13 is so good. Anyway, sorry.
You stop talking about it?
I'm reading, like, it's just, I have to reread it. It's just, anyway, let's go to John. Yes.
I want to pull up another version too.
Yeah, sorry. That one was full of hiccups.
Let's see here.
Verse 51 is the same. I don't know if I've read it before. Chapter 1, verse 51.
Uh-huh.
And he said to him, truly, truly, I say to you, from now on, you will see the heaven opened and the messengers of Elohim ascending and descending upon the son of Adam. Okay, is that, sorry.
No, go ahead. No, there's my bad. I was just saying, yeah, that's go ahead.
Is that just Yeshua? It doesn't say the sons of Adam, so it has to mean just Yeshua, right?
Correct. Yep.
Oh.
What struck me was how simple Nathaniel's faith was. All Jesus had to say was, I saw you under the fig tree. And Nathaniel's like, you've got to be the son of, you've got to be the Messiah.
That made my heart swell. Hey, like I didn't miss you sitting there.
Yeah.
Just because I didn't say hi, I still seen you. That I like that one. Hi, buddy. Hi.
You know, but it's also interesting too, because let's see, it doesn't say it in either one of these translations I have.
Transfiguration.
It doesn't indicate that Philip found Nathanael under the fig tree. It just says that he called them. So the fig tree could have been.
Mine says he found Nathaniel.
Does not say under the fig tree.
Oh.
So when he's saying fig tree, it's
okay.
something that Philip doesn't know about, is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, you know, maybe it's simple, but, you know, and what, is it something that sticks out? Two? Was there like only 2 fig trees in town? No, I mean, seriously.
Or was Nathaniel doing something specific under the fig tree? Maybe that's where he went to pray on a regular basis or spend time. And so Yeshua is saying, I see you there. I see you being faithful under that tree, talking, praying every day. I don't know. Just a thought.
But still, that's pretty amazing. And then if you look at Peter seems to be the most problematic through the Gospels. No, I'm serious. I mean, he's the one that is the most contrary, it seems, to the things that Yeshua is telling them. And so he figures prominently in a lot of the Gospels and everything. But, we have Philip here who took him at Messiah from the very first that he met him. And we don't hear anything else about him until Acts, right? When he's preaching and then disappears. Boom.
So it's almost like when you have two children and one seems to be needing more of your attention, the other one seems to be doing relatively okay, so you don't end up showing quite as much attention to the one that's doing okay. You show attention to the one that might need a little bit more attention.
Well, just think about
the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Right?
Maybe, yeah.
But also think about personalities, or how Abba creates us sometimes. The ones that end up, like if you've got a child that can be problematic because they think differently, they're really independent, they're dynamic. If you look from a teacher's perspective, a lot of times the ones that create the most problem in your classroom are your smartest, because they get bored.
Yep.
And so what if Peter, even though he created a lot of problems, just look at what he did for the kingdom. And so maybe it was because of how he's made up that Jesus knew he had to spend more time with him to work through him, because of what he was going to have him do later. He needed somebody like that. Yeah, the rock. Maybe the rock was his head.
You never know that, or we won't know for a while.
I relate with Peter this week for sure.
We will eventually.
Oh, maybe. Where does it say we're going to know everything? I mean, a lot of the stuff we're not going to.
Yeah.
Are we going to care once we're in the eternity?
Did you hear that?
A little bit.
Chili Fridays?
No, it's my dog over there in the corner just going, and then looking at me.
Uh-huh.
Chop's doing the same thing.
Is he?
Sure. Oh, sure.
Chop is over there going, and I want the squirrel that's outside.
Yep.
Oh, see, look, he knows I'm talking about him. Hang on a sec. Cracking your bones, are you?
Oh. Well, it's like,
and then he comes at you like with his head. He just wants to
headbutt you.
My arm.
Good boy. No.
Well, it's like people have said when they get to heaven and they meet Adam, they're just going to go punch him in the nose.
My youngest one has been quite emotional about the whole, they did not guard the garden like they were supposed to.
Well, but I'm like Jonathan, are we going to care?
Well,
I mean, really, honestly, are we going to care? At that point, I'm just going to be.
At that point, who knows? Yeah, at that point, who knows? Yeah.
Like, I'm so grateful to be out of here.
I think too, some of these stories, I was saying to y'all, how Jacob and Esau kept coming up, and now Peter's coming up, and how we all from time to time behave like an Esau. We behave like a Jacob. We behave, like a Peter. And I mean, yeah, just learning from these people that are ancestors and that we fall guilty sometimes. Yeah.
Lori, what are those? What are the Enoch tours?
The Enoch tours.
Yep. Has anybody heard of those?
No. You want to talk? I want to talk to Isaiah, Rebecca.
Oh.
I just want to sit at his feet.
I thought she was talking about something from like call up your travel agent. Yeah, I want to sign up for the Enoch tour. What's that?
That's what I thought she was thinking. Oh.
Enoch was an interesting character. I mean, you got to think about it. He's standing there talking to these giant fallen angels, calling them out, going, "You're not. No, sorry."
See, like, you know what? When Uncle Obvious, when you say, I think that means going to heaven, I always tell my girls, like, hang on a second, like, some of us go and some of us don't. And then they look at me. And I'm like, I don't know how to answer the rest of the next set of questions that you're going to give me. But, like, I think that just like our reward is no longer being in this flesh. We'll have new flesh, but we'll have a new location. But there's more than one location to be after we pass. So I hope I'm allowed in to talk to a few of these ancestors.
And
my 2 cents.
How Esau keeps coming up too, that the Caricos posted a study yesterday for talking about people that sinned beyond redemption, as far as we know. And Esau was one of those because he forsook his birthright. It's a piece of garbage.
Imagine like the words, like, okay, if we talk about that story just for a second, if you guys don't mind, listen to think about how here is Isaiah or Isaac laying there giving his blessing, and he doesn't just, hang on a second, hang on,
Greetings.
Most of the world.
Nah.
Is this thing on?
Is this thing on? Yeah. So Isaac is laying there, and he gives his blessing, right, to Jacob. All the deception, all of that aside in a way. And then Esau comes in and says, can't you just give me the blessing or me a blessing too or whatever? I'm not like, look how loose we are with our words. Like, okay, yeah, well, we'll just cancel what I just said to Jacob because he deceived me. I'll just give it to you. He doesn't do that because the value and the weight of his word was really important. He couldn't switch it because now it's been spoken. He couldn't change it. You know how we change our minds. Oh, I didn't mean that. Like I meant to bless that person, or I didn't like the power and the weight of the consequence of saying something and can't going back. Like, okay, Esau, he did a detestable thing by just going, oh, I'm so hungry. Like, obviously it was something more inside his soul, right? Inside his being.
Or a bite of that Twinkie.
Right. So there has to obviously be more to the soul of an individual that just sacrifices and surrenders something that's supposed to be value, right? He's gone now, Jasmine. But I appreciate that. Thanks. But I think that when I just think about how we pray, how I pray over my kids and what I say over them or what I say over other people. And what I say to them or about them, or when I'm praying for them or over them or whatever, like how being super careful because he waited until almost his deathbed to bless his son. He didn't bless his son when his son was 10 with that spiritual inheritance or whatever. He didn't waste that prayer at 10 years old. I don't know. I just sometimes Gwen's learning a lot about trying not to speak because I've like not knowing what to say said. And that's what happened this week for me, right? So I'm just seeing the value and maybe not saying.
When we said no, you kept talking.
Exactly. That happens a lot.
But did you see that? Like Yah spoke creation into existence. Words have power.
Yeah.
Words have meaning. And I was thinking about that the other day too. Yesterday, as a matter of fact. Because
yes, Byron, yeah.
Somebody had asked someone else to do something on yesterday. And then wanted to change it. Said, no, do it this day instead. And they said, well, no, we can't do it that day. Well, excuse. And then finally they just said no. And it reminded me of where it says, let your no's be no's and your yes be yes. You know, you don't whiffle waffle back and forth. Well, okay. No, your word is your solid, should be your solid, solemn agreement. Whatever it is you say.
Well,
Yes,
I've done that too recently. I've had different situations where I'll say I'll do something and then I'll be like, oh, I really don't want to do that. But I said I would.
Right.
And so it's like, you know, it's also a testament to your character. This is what I said I would do. And so whether I want to do it, I feel like doing it that way, then that's what I'm going to do. Oh,
I think too, like for me personally, like this last week, I ran into a situation where I got carried away. Surprise! When I got excited about something, about a concept, and excited is an understatement, got super passionate about this concept because I could hear the word that was being spoken through me, and I got really passionate, but it came through an extremely broken vessel, and I didn't execute well at all, right? So anyway, I'm still experiencing the cause and effect of those actions, but I don't know. I think that's sometimes why I stay very quiet and separated from people, because, you know, it's you just make less damage. Oh, now I'm sharing.
No.
Now I'm sharing. You offend less. You stir up less crap. You have less arguments. You have less all of these other things. I mean, it has a two-way street. Clearly, I'm not saying that, but it's just one of those things where you can't take back if something's already been said. You can repent and you can try to apologize and make amends, but it's already been said. And it's been said in that way, and it's been misunderstood in that way, or it's turned into a big mashed potato mess. I mean, yes, things can get rectified, but just remorseful and sad, you know. Sometimes it just was better just to stay home.
well, in those instances, it reminds me to, it's really advisable to stop, and if we are going to agree to do something, stop, and before we say yes or no, stop and ask Abba if that's what he wants us to do. Because sometimes if we agree to it, then maybe it's not something we need to do, or maybe he knows something that we don't know, that's not the best situation.
No.
And so, you know, I'm bad about that because I have things that I do like to help, and I do like to do things and agree to things, and then and then you.
Yeah, that too, for sure. For sure.
All right.
My kid's standing on the other side of my computer, just like my dog, just staring. No, barely any breathing, just nostrils.
Are they starving? They think they're starving. Lunchtime.
My other one will never starve. She'll just go to the fridge and make something, and she did. She's walked in here with a big bowl of stew or soup or whatever have you. Anyway,
Dude.
All right, let's let these poor people enjoy their day of rest. So, everybody, thank you very much for joining us today. And thank you, Glenn. Thank you, Landon. Thank you, Dee, for helping out. As usual, if anybody wants to read with us, let us know. And send you a link. A link to the word, not to a monkey. So, we love you all. Have a beautiful day of rest. And see you very soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.